Welcome to I Speak African. I'm your host Yanu. In this episode, we're covering the tragic and deeply disturbing case of Olorato Mongale, a 30-year-old South African woman who had just completed her master's degree and was an active advocate against gender-based violence. Her life was senselessly taken in an act that reveals the terrifying scale of violence against women in South Africa. Now, Olorato met a man who introduced himself as simply as John, but his real name was later revealed to be Nkosi Makanya. Now, Makanya is part of a criminal gang that targets women. The South African media or news is calling it a syndicate. But yeah, he's a part of a gang that targets women for kidnapping and robbery. They often use fake dating scenarios to lure the women and rob them. Now, authorities have linked Makanya to two other men, Fezile Ngambani and Bongani Methukulu. The group has been operating in malls across South Africa using the same white Volkswagen Polo in a series of coordinated crimes. So what's their strategy? They pose as romantic interests, gain the trust of women, pick them up for dates, and then rob them. Now here's a video of Fezile. Now in the video he is talking to reporters, but he's lying and he's saying how he doesn't know what happened. He's never done a crime in his life. He doesn't know Makanya. He has a child and he's a very innocent person. But the reality is that he was with Makanya and their other friend robbing women in KwaZulu-Natal. And this has been an ongoing thing.
But secondly, what really would you want South Africans to know about Ufezile Ngubane?
No, I would like South Africa to know that I've never been involved in crime. I've never been a person who's been a fan of crime. I don't entertain crime. It's just that the addiction, the life that I've put myself in, is the one that's really, hurt me a lot, because for these 3 days, as I was in the holding cells, and I was shaking for my life, I saw that maybe this is my last opportunity in life to turn back to doing good, because most of my life I hurt my parents and I hurt mostly myself. So I would just like to say to South Africa that anybody who thought I was involved in this should know for a fact that I've never done anything wrong. I've never left home. I've always been with my parents, and I've never laid a hand on a woman. I've only got one child in my life. She just finished her matric. So I'm not a violent person. My neighbors know me and everybody, because as the people around my area were saying that there's not an inch that this guy is involved in this. But what can we say? If the police wants you, the police wants you. You're involved, they say you're involved.
And perhaps just quickly, Fezile, from my end, are you seeking some assistance in terms of your addiction? Are you wanting help to be assisted in that regard?
I'll kindly be glad if help was offered.
I think let's just bring in the...
And are you considering perhaps any recourse in terms of the conduct of the police? Initially they identified you as a suspect. Are you going to be taking any action? Have you consulted your family perhaps on that?
No, I'd say I've discussed that with my parents, and we said we wouldn't take such drastic measures due to situations. Those guys didn't handle me in a way that made me feel, threatened and, violated. They were quite professional with the whole situation, and I wouldn't dare think so, because some people might get a negative view on that. And it might bring negativity to me too. I don't like hype. Yeah.
In Olorato's case, she met Makanya in Johannesburg. Now, he had traveled all the way from KwaZulu-Natal, which is approximately 7 hours drive. Now, that's the equivalent of driving from Washington, D.C. to New York and back. That's not a casual trip. That's a calculated move. Now, for those who don't live in South Africa or know about the geography, South Africa does not have states like we have here in the States. They have provinces. So it's very far, But before leaving for her date, Olorato texted a friend. She said that she was telling her friend how excited she was for the date. She was getting ready. But what is very common in South Africa is for women to share their location with their friends to ensure their safety. But 2 hours after being on the date, her friends go and check, and they find her where she was unalived. Now, according to a spokesperson for the Mongale family, her body was brutally violated, indicating that Makanya's intent was more than just robbing her. Now, this case is not an isolated incident. I've covered similar stories like this in the past on my podcast. Specifically, a case about a young South African woman named Bongeka Makathini, who was unalived by her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, Subuzio Lawrence. I also covered another video too about another South African woman. And not just that, there was even a few months back, there was a young girl, I don't know her name, but they were all calling her Keke or Keke or something like that. QWE. I don't really know the sound to make in Zulu or one of the tribal languages, but that's what they were calling her. And this young girl was violated by her principal. Her mother even spoke about it. Her mother brought her home from school and it was like, "What's wrong with you? What's like? You seem different." And the girl explained everything that happened to her. So, gender-based violence is something that is very pervasive in South Africa. It's considered an epidemic. Now, in 1999, a national study found that the femicide rate for black women was 8.9 per 100,000 compared to 2.8 for white women, 3 times higher. South Africa continues to have one of the highest gender-based violence rates in the world. According to SAPs and NGOs, a woman is unalived every 3 hours in South Africa, often by someone she knows, a loved one, significant other, and the conviction rate remains extremely low. Now, I'm going to play this video of one of the guys that was Makanya's friend, and he's stating how Makanya just wanted to rob Olorato. He didn't mean anything. He didn't mean to unalive her. He didn't mean any, to hurt her anymore, which is furthest from the truth. Economic inequality and high unemployment only make things worse, especially for women. In my last episode about Ibrahim Traore, I mentioned how Middle Eastern Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE have or see far fewer desperate crimes being committed because of their strong economies, because of their low level of poverty. When people have what they need to survive, food to eat, clothes, on their back, a roof over their head, they're less likely to resort to violent crimes. But because the people, and not just South Africa, the continent of Africa, a lot of people are they're desperate. And that's because of bad leadership, slavery, and colonization. But large and due to the fact that a lot of leaders don't care about their people. They just care about getting rich. So, what can be done? In 2020, the South African government launched the National Strategic Plan on GBV and Femicide, NSP-GBVF. Public campaigns like I Am Next, Total Shutdown, and 16 Days of Activism have raised awareness, but action continues to lag behind words. And although I've heard of some of these, and I, commend the people who have started these, these cry for attentions, or these activist groups, it can only do so much. And that's because GBV is very deeply embedded into the fabric of South African society, and that all stems from apartheid. After apartheid ended in South Africa, unlike the history of America, where Black Americans were freed from slavery, and then they were segregated, and they only lived with each other. So Black Americans were able to build up, get educated, and grow within Black communities. And that's why you have the Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you have other Seneca, which used to be Seneca, I think Seneca City or Seneca Town, Central Park, before they changed it to Central Park. And a plethora of different Black rich cities and towns during the time of Jim Crow. Now, there's the difference between America and South Africa is after apartheid ended, South Africans were never given reparations or even their land back, the Black South Africans. They were just thrown into society. They were just integrated into a society where, the people who they integrated with, which are their minority, hated them. So when it came to them advancing in society, they did not, because there were still remnants of apartheid that was holding them back. So, that's the reason why, and then also they were all, when their land was taken, all the Black people were sent to go live in the townships, which are equivalent to ghettos in America. So that also took a toll on the Black society as a whole. Now, personally, I believe that Police Minister Sinzo Mkunu would make a very good presidential candidate. He has a solid record on issues of safety and accountability, and I think if he runs, he can make a real difference in the country. I think South Africans should seriously consider voting for him, especially because he's doing a good job as police minister, but also because, as we can see, Ramaphosa is not doing anything. He flew to America for what? To, tell Donald Trump that he's lying about the white genocide that everyone knows is not happening. Even Donald Trump knows it's not happening. Those pictures Donald Trump was showing were pictures from Congo, not South Africa. So everyone knows that there's no such thing as white genocide. White South Africans have, they have refuted this. Scholars have refuted this. They've said it. I've seen so many videos of white South Africans being like, yeah, there has never, ever been a white genocide of any kind in South African history. Never. But, for some reason, Ramaphosa went over there. He wasted his time. He wasted South African taxpayer dollar or South African taxpayer rands. And he got nothing out of it. It's not like he strengthened economic ties with America and made South Africa more, more affluent. No, he wasted time. So y'all should vote him out. Yeah. But unfortunately, due to high, pervasive, and normalized gender-based violence, this won't be the last time that I'll be talking about this issue on this platform, on my podcast, because I know that in a couple of months, another unaliving will happen. Another unaliving of a young Black South African woman who was, had a promising life and friends and people who loved her. I know it will happen again. But very similar, since we're on the topic of gender-based violence. A very recent tragic case has come to light recently. A white South African woman by the name of Kim Town, she and her husband relocated to Virginia. I think either Virginia or West Virginia. But her husband is also a white South African. He unalived her last week. As of right now, the investigation is ongoing. But yeah, he unalived his wife. As of right now, there's no motive. As I just said, the investigation's going. I don't know why, but that's what happened. But, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of I Speak African. If you found this episode valuable, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. If there's a topic that you'd like me to cover, don't hesitate to reach out to me at ispeakafrican12@gmail.com. All my socials are in the video description below. And this episode can be downloaded on Spotify. Stay safe, stay informed, and stay blessed.